Okay, hey guys, welcome back to sunny Florida. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Following up on the success of my previous video, my most viewed video, where I reviewed if it was worthwhile moving from snow and cold Chicago to the sunny Boca Raton. So today I decided to do another video. I'm walking outside outdoors. It's February and it's pretty sunny here, probably 70s. And my doctor told me to walk around after lunch. So I'm taking like those 5-10 minute walks and I'm recording my YouTube videos. Okay, so today I decided to review another topic. Moving from Eastern Europe, like I moved 25 years ago, to United States, was it worth it? Okay, so let's think about it together. Let's review a few pros and cons, and I'm curious to hear about some of you guys who moved here to the States from other places. What do you guys think of it? So I moved here 20 years ago, actually it was more like 25 years ago, from Eastern Europe, former Soviet Republic. And, it was quite a jarring move. Moved from a very different place, kind of mostly white, European, and kind of post-Soviet Union. A lot was being restructured, but still we lived in a country where basically, kind of the wealth was flowing to the top 10%. You're really rapidly accumulating it, maybe either stealing it rather than accumulating. And kind of the bottom 90% were, just muddling by middle class or just being outright poor. So that was Eastern Europe. I mean, since then it improved a lot. And really, some of the countries became like really on par with major other countries in Europe, such as, Germany and Poland, kind of almost equity, reaching parity. Some other countries like Czech Republic, Slovenia, while countries like maybe Romania, Ukraine, where I was born, Ukraine is a war-torn country by now, but it never really reached European standards like those, Western European. So let's talk about America. What brought me here? So I came here to get education. And that's probably number one reason to still move here if you can, is to get education. America, top 20, 30 universities. And if you can get here and study, some of those really professions that are in high demand, such as finance, engineering, medicine, I think you can do very well here. Way better than you would do in Europe. So if you guys really thinking about a high-paying job, I think, and you want to get a world-class education, definitely one of the main reasons to move here. Another reason to move here would be the size of the country and the potential financial opportunities. In America, people don't realize it's a huge country, and kind of like each state it could be like considered as a country on its own, or especially states like California, states like Texas, Florida, New York. These are big states, very different cultures, very different values, very different laws. So you could be like, even if you're moving inside the United States, you're moving pretty much from one country to another. I'm not sure if people realize that outside of America, but that's really true. Since I moved from Illinois, like a very cold, old, industrial, liberal state, to kind of a new, sunny, Republican state, such as Florida. That's probably the second reason to understand why to move here, just the sheer size and ability to move and really change your trajectory of your career, of your life from state to state. The third reason would be just different companies that are available in America. America is still the growth engine of the world, and pretty much, if you want to try to get a job in any kind of industry, it's still the place to be. Be it engineering, finance, real estate, programming, like the biggest countries in the world, for the most part, are still here. Bring me to the fourth point, is that why I kind of always came here. We're following probably, hundreds of years of other migrants or immigrants who came here, is to try my luck and start my own company and own my own destiny, not to be beholden to a boss, some laws or some bureaucracy. And America is still a land of opportunity. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of problems, inequality, crazy political climate, huge polarization, gun problem, cost of living problem, healthcare problem, all true. But if you want to start your company, if you want to really build something as an entrepreneur, America is still number one country in the world, despite all its negatives and drawbacks. So we talked about earlier today about my move and why to move to America. Let's talk about the negatives, why not to move to. Okay, there's plenty of reasons why not to move here. This is not a country for everybody. let's maybe answer this question by comparison. So I have a family in Germany, which I visit very often, and I'm very fond of that country. It's a country that's very organized, very clean, very polite people, very orderly people. It's a country kind of almost the opposite of America, I would say. Like Americans are kind of loud, unruly, don't follow orders, prioritize freedom, very personal freedom over everything else, and kind of like self-centered, I would say, with all Americans. Germans are very much consider themselves part of a collective of the society. They abide by social norms. Americans are the complete opposite of this. They're very self-centered, it's all about me, my freedom, my wealth, my money, what I want to do. And I'm also showing off. America is a very kind of ostentatious country. It's about, we made it, you got to flaunt it, especially where I live in South Florida. Expensive cars, brand clothes, Rolex watches, this kind of stuff that you rarely see in Germany. Or maybe some other European countries, which are more reserved. So it's kind of a cultural difference. So that's a big one. So if that's kind of like not you guys, I don't think you're going to fit very well in America. And obviously there's different parts of America, and I'm just talking about maybe kind of like East Coast, Florida culture. Like if you go to Midwest, it's much more subdued because it actually was colonized by German immigrants. Think of places like Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, and German farmers. They kind of kept that tradition. Also, Americans are, as I said, very self-centered. They're kind of just like, it's all about me. So why should I pay taxes? Why should I pay taxes to sponsor common goods such as healthcare, infrastructure, education? Like an example, and that's what results everything kind of being, Americans hate paying taxes because like, it's a thing imposed by the government. And, I haven't met anybody who likes to pay taxes, but because I think in America is like, you have to pay a fortune for your education or fortune for your healthcare. So, I think it's one of the biggest differences. Americans are very self-centered and don't think themselves as part of a society. And it's a culture that kind of, if you made it, you're great. But if you're kind of like maybe middle class or less fortunate, you're truly going to be struggling here. That's kind of a second thing that I want to make sure people understand. If you really want to kind of chill and cruise, just enjoy like normal middle class life, which you kind of can enjoy in Germany, where your healthcare is subsidized, heavily subsidized, your university education is heavily subsidized. You kind of live in very, for the most part, very kind of equal society. This is not the country. America is not the country for you to come to. So just very high inequality, probably the top 10%, living very, very well, extremely well. Luxury cars, vacations, multiple homes, really kind of a level of wealth that's like I haven't seen in Europe, but for the middle class there. Then there's probably another 20% under that 10%, kind of like, upper middle class, living fairly well, having kind of probably a couple nice vacations, 2 or 3 cars, good home, maybe a vacation home, maybe an RV. But the problem is probably about 60 to 70% of Americans are really struggling and having ends meet and kind of being crushed, especially now with inflation, the cost of healthcare, cost of education, insurance. I'm talking about the car insurance and home insurance and maybe rent, kind of being crushed. So the second thing is, besides being kind of a contentious culture and very in your face, it's also a very unequal society compared to kind of Western economies. 3, America is kind of really a place where I don't think you can really like chill. It's always, you have to be in a hamster wheel to think about how to make money, and whether you like it or not, it's part of the culture. And this is very different from Europe. Europeans just kind of, I go see my cousins in Germany and just like to chill, spend time, see for vacations, taking maybe a month off in the summer. This is unheard of in America. I mean, you could do it, but it's very against culture. So, I think those are kind of the big differences. Maybe a couple other ones, right? So unaffordable healthcare. The healthcare system is truly broken here. And finally, safety. A lot of people own guns. A lot of crazy people own guns. Mental health here are really in a dumpster. And, that creates mass shootings. And we really have sort of like people living always on alert. I think, having afraid of mass shootings, whether it's in school, in the mall, on the street. Like it doesn't happen everywhere. I think in the perception of Europe, it happens everywhere, but it's kind of just random violence that really keeps people on edge and really concerned. And that's something that you don't feel in Europe. In Europe, you feel a lot more relaxed. So I think I kind of covered the pros and cons of the 2 countries. And curious to hear what you guys have to say. Say it in the comments. Take care.